everybody's favorite character ever. Literally, nobody can ever sit there and say they dislike this character. Nobody can really talk shit about this character in terms of like who the character is or anything like that. But for the first time in literally 2 years, well, in a month it'll be 2 years, she is getting a rerun banner. So today we are going to be taking a look at everyone's favorite queen, Miss Red Hood, the first ever anniversary character. Not only that, the first ever character to be a burst 1, 2, and 3. Until this day, the very only character to still be a burst 1, 2, and 3, as you guys see by her logo right there. I do expect that to change on the anniversary day, right? I'm hoping that the next anniversary character is also a burst 1, 2, and 3, because there should be no reason why Red Hood is the only character of all time that has that nonsense to her, right? Obviously Red Hood is still one of the best characters in the game. I easily still have her in my top 10. I do think sadly Red Hood will be getting replaced out of like the top 10. I think she's easily getting pushed out of the top 10 anniversary. It depends, because right now for me, I have her at like 7, 8, right? And if we get 2 more anniversary characters, she's probably gonna go from 7, 8 to like maybe like 10, 11, right? It depends realistically how many pilgrims we get and how good they are. Not to mention the New Year characters, right? Guaranteed by 2026 she's out of the running for top 10. Right now, obviously I still do think this is like one of the most versatile characters in the game, and probably still the best universal character in the game. I mean, being a burst 1, 2, and 3 is no joke, but we're going to break this character down, explain everything about her, and just do multiple teams and showcases for this character. Now, one thing about Red Hood is that she's absolutely the easiest character in this game to build when it comes to overload gear, and the reason why is because almost everything here benefits her besides defense and I would say hit rate. She's a sniper, so hit rate is kind of on point, and then defense is just like, she doesn't necessarily need that at all. It's not useless, but it is useless. Like, she doesn't need that, you know what I mean? But elemental damage, ammo capacity, attack percent, charge damage, charge speed, crit rate, crit damage, all of that is good for her. Now what you want to prioritize 100% is elemental damage, attack percent, and then realistically that last one could be charge damage or charge speed. The reason why you could have either of the two is because she does have an effect where the amount of charge speed she has that exceed over 100% get converted into charge damage. So essentially her having charge speed on her overload gear is giving her more damage, right? And then obviously charge damage is just charge damage. So I would recommend elemental damage, attack percent guaranteed, as like you want those two on all 4 slots, and then for that last line for your 4 slots you can kind of like alternate between charge speed or charge damage or ammo capacity or even crit damage, because she does crit a lot as well, right? You can alternate between those, but elemental damage and attack percent is what you want on this character 100% for all 4 pieces. That last slot you literally just alternate between charge damage, charge speed, ammo capacity. I would probably go 1 line of ammo capacity, right, and then realistically just charge damage or charge speed for the last ones. Like if you guys take a look at my build right now, I have charge damage, charge speed, charge damage or crit damage, elemental damage, crit damage, charge speed, and then elemental damage, charge speed, and crit damage or charge damage. Like this right here is not a bad piece whatsoever, obviously, but like I haven't really worked on my Red Hood since the day she came out. But that's just my advice to you guys. Now when it comes to her skill, let's break it down, because there's a lot to this character, right? Obviously being a burst of 1, 2, and 3, she does have a lot of mechanics. Now we're going to just read her kit how it is, and then I'll like, kind of break it down like that. So obviously when casting or normal attack, she increases her charge speed that stacks up to 10 times, right? That's very good because of the second part of her skill. But when you enter a battle, converts access value over 100% of charge speed to charge damage. Charge damage 240 of the access value continuously. So charge damage increased by 240%. So let's say, for example, her base, I don't know what her base would be, but let's say she has a total of 110%, right? 110% of charge speed, right? From my understanding, that remaining 10% would get converted into charge damage, but I'm assuming for every single charge speed that kind of goes over, every percent charge speed that goes over, you multiply by 240. I still don't actually fully understand. Let me see. When charge speed the specific multiplier, yeah, the access value will be applied to charge damage at the specific multiplier. So yeah, she technically will be, it would check that. I don't know if it would be 240 times 1, because that would be quite crazy, right? It wouldn't be like that, would it? Because if it was like 110% charge speed, then she would have 2,400 on charge damage. I never understood that, to be honest, until this day. I need you guys to help me with that. I never understood how that worked exactly. I mean, I understood that like the more charge speed you have, the more damage she was doing, but I never understood if it was 240% multiplied by whatever the access number is, right? So if you have like 120%, is it now 20 times 240? Because that seems to just be broken, and Red Hood is not that strong of a DPS compared to a lot of other characters we have today, right? I'm just being honest with you. Red Hood is powerful, don't get me wrong, but she's definitely not that strong compared to, like, there's some non-Pilgrim characters that hit harder than Red Hood, right? So it definitely can't be like that. I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe it might be like 2.4%, actually. It could be 2.4% times whatever the number is. That's a different story. That's probably how it is, I'm going to assume, right? But you guys let me know down below in the comment there. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Another good thing about this character is that she is in the pierce state 100%. So all her damage just goes through enemies and attacks enemies behind her, parts behind the enemy, whatever. Any enemy that's behind the enemy and all that stuff, her damage pierces through it. Her attacks pierce through it. Now, depending on what, like, I guess, stage you're in for her burst skill, she is going to, you know, give buffs, right? So if you're in the beast cage, all allies will have a defensive buff increased by 50% of the caster's defense for 10 seconds. If you're in the last howl state, she's going to heal herself by 23% of attack damage as HP over for 10 seconds, right? And then if you're in the red wolf state, she will give herself a 71% attack buff, right? So obviously the beast cage stage the beast cage effect or stage is her burst 1 on her burst skill, and when you do that, all allies get a 77.55% attack buff of the caster's attack. That is the biggest buff in the game, by the way. That 77.55% of the caster's attack is the biggest buff in the game till this day, right? But the cool thing about her is it's only one time per battle, but if you use her burst 1 and use her burst 2, depending on when you use it, she does instantly reset her cooldown. So let's say, for example, I used her burst 1, but I didn't use her burst 2 and I didn't use her burst 3. The next burst rotation, I can use her burst 1 again, or I could just skip it and use her burst 2, or I could skip it and use her burst 3, right? But if I did decide to use her burst 1 again after I just used her burst 1 the first rotation, I would instantly go into a 40-second cooldown. So first burst rotation, it will be burst 1, and then let's say I skip my burst 2 and I skip my burst 3. Second burst rotation, it would be burst 1, and then I can't use no burst skill after that, right? That's just how that works. Now when you're in her burst 2 stage, which is her step 2, she does taunt all enemies, and she does have her HP potency increase, which just means increase healing by 74%. But that's really it. She just has her HP increase, like her healing, not HP, but her healing that she receives is increased by 74%. And obviously that goes in hand with the second skill where she heals depending on how much damage she does. And then when you're in her step 3, that's where she becomes a DPS, right? Her weapon changes to kind of like an automatic shot thing. She deals 51% of final attack. Her full charge damage is 250, and it's always going to be full charge, by the way. And then the pierce range is increased by 100%, and the charge speed is increased by 100%. Again, that charge speed being increased by 100% is really good for that first skill, because that is going to now be 100% charge speed that over exceeds 100% of the charge speed, or whatever your charge speed was at before, right? So that's kind of how that works. And it's a bit difficult to understand, especially when she's a burst 1, 2, and 3, but it's very straightforward. I'm going to show you guys through showcases. Right, and then when it comes to I guess the cube, realistically resilience cube is all you need. You can go with the Bastion cube or wingman cube, or honestly you could also go with the adjutant cube, because that's charge speed, or the charge damage cube if you really want to. But I always go resilience cube. I feel like reload speed is just all this character needs. But yeah, let's just go ahead, look at Red Hood and try out some teams with her. I'm gonna kind of break down her as like a burst 1, a burst 2, and a burst 3, and show you guys a few different team comps like that. but let's get into it. All right, so this is the first team we're gonna go in here with. It's more of a wonky team if you look at it, but basically this first run I just want to kind of show you guys what she is looking like, and we can go to the 132nd one, but I want to show you guys what she's looking like if you were to just use her as a full burst 1, 2, and 3 character, right? And kind of how that operates, so you guys can kind of get under. I mean, I'm sure anybody watching this video, unless you're a new player, knows how this character already works. But when it comes to Red Hood, right, if you guys notice, you're going to see right here, look on the right side of the screen, she is going to be the first character used to burst 1, right? But because she's in the very first slot, she's also used her burst 2 and her burst 3. I do want to note as well, placement for this character matters. Remember that when it comes to Nikke, from your very left side where Red Hood is right here on the screen, all the way to the right side is your burst rotation. So if Red Hood is the first character here on the far left, they are always going to prioritize Red Hood's burst skill over anybody else's, right? So you see how my team right now is a burst 1, 2, and 3 character, which is Red Hood herself, then Crown, then Rappy. It's always going to rotate from Red Hood, Crown, and then whatever the burst 3 character is. Because Red Hood is the very first character, she is the burst 1 on this team, right after the very first burst rotation. So she's going to use her burst skill. It's going to go into Crown, and then it's going to go into Laplace or Raven, right? Because we have no other burst 3 on the team. Because Red Hood is not considered a burst 1, Rappy, right, if you guys watched that video I did a long time for her, she's considered a burst 1 on the team. So for our burst 1s, we're alternating between Red Hood and we're alternating between Rappy. That's how that works, right? And then our 2 burst 3 characters are going to be Laplace and Raven, right? If you guys just take a look at the burst like the burst skill on the right side of the screen right now, you guys will easily understand how crazy this character is, right? In terms of like how she works and stuff like that. You will actually figure it out, right? Notice how you use her burst 1, you can't use it anymore and anything like that. So that is exactly how Miss Red Hood works as a burst 1, 2, and 3 character. Now, do people use her as a burst 1, 2, and 3 character? No, people don't actually. People only use her as a burst 1 or a burst 2. When I use her, honestly, I only use her as a burst 1 character, right? Sometimes use her as a burst 3 if I'm fighting Ultra or something like that. But you guys could kind of see her performance here, right? Even just as a burst 1, realistically, she only got 337 million. We're gonna change the team up where we're using her as a main burst 3 character. And that is going to be like this actual team, which is my my favorite team, kind of like the glorified monstrous trio team. Well, it's not a glorified because Little Mermaid is still better, right? But because Thing is there, why not? And then we'll put Rappy, right? So we're going to alternate between Red Hood and Rappy for our burst 1 character, right? And then we're going to have Crown support, Helm support, Litter support, but Red Hood on this showcase right here is only going to be a burst 3 character. We're never going to use her burst 1 and we're never going to use her burst 2 because obviously there is a burst 1 and a burst 2 character in front of them. In front of her. If you guys notice on the right side of the screen again, they will always prioritize whoever is in front of the character, right? So Car's Crown and because Litter are in front of Red Hood, that's a burst 1 and a burst 2. Nikke is always going to prioritize their burst skill over Red Hood burst 1, 2, and 3, right? Or just their burst 1 and 2, as you guys see right there. But you guys see her damage. Like if you use her as a burst 3, yeah, she pops off, right? She 100% pops off. So you guys, hey, I'm telling you, Red Hood is still definitely one of the best characters in the game. Unfortunately, I just don't see her surviving past the 3rd anniversary. And if she does survive past the 3rd anniversary, she's definitely dying New Year's, right? And it's as sad as it for me to say, it is the truth. Like Red Hood is a character that is always gonna be good, especially if she is still the only burst 1, 2, and 3 character in the game. But she is a character that like is no longer 1. I don't even have her in the top 5 because I have Crown over her, I have Helm over her, I have Rappy over her, I have Little Mermaid over her. That's 4 characters I already have over her. I have Cinderella over her, right? And I think the only reason why I have all these characters over Red Hood is because at the end of the day, you are only using her as a burst 1 or a burst 3. Even though she, yes, does have the option to be used as a burst 1, 2, or 3. If you do decide to use her as like a multiple burst character, you can only do that, guess what, 1 time in the match. So technically you're either using her as a burst 3, where if we're just going off her base 3 solo character, like if we're just going off of her as a solo burst 3 character, she isn't that crazy. if you actually think about it, right? Because if you look at her kit, right, yes, she has all this cool stuff. This is stacked. It's great. This is beautiful. She has pierce and stuff like that. But if you're using as a burst 3, all she's giving herself is this attack buff, and then like obviously what she does as a burst 3. Like, don't get me wrong, she's gonna hit hard 110%. This Red Hood character will hit hard, but my whole point is there's a lot of characters who hit harder than her. And I'm not saying because there are a lot of characters that hit harder than her, like that means like they're better than her. No, but if I'm only using her as a burst 3 and I'm comparing her for damage, then yeah, it's like, you know what I'm saying? I would use other characters over Red Hood, right? The only reason why I still use Red Hood, to be honest, is her pierce effect. Like, not many characters have that continuous pierce effect, and you guys don't know how crazy that pierce effect really can be for a lot of these characters. But like, it is what it is. Like, I would never like shit on Red Hood. I will never like give up on Red Hood. I will never like sit there and say Red Hood is bad. She is always still going to be my first pick, or one of my first picks when it comes to the Iron team. Right now it's her, Rappy, and Raven. Will that get replaced depending if Nayuta's an Iron character or not? I doubt it, because Milk is there. I don't think they're gonna give us another Iron character realistically. I think Nayuta would probably be Wind, to be honest. We haven't had a Wind DPS in God knows how long, right? I could not tell you the last time we had a Wind DPS. If we're talking about Wind Burst 3, I'm pretty sure Scarlet Black Shadow is the only one still that's like actually good. I want to actually check that real quick. I'm gonna open up Pride Wind for a quick second. I do want to see if Scarlet Black Shadow is still technically the only Wind Burst 3 DPS in the game. And yeah, I mean, her and Asuka, I guess, and Sakura. But if you look at Red Hood here, 1.5 billion, right? Which is a lot better than her 300k or 300 million from her as the burst 1, right? Obviously, Rappy did way better than her, so there is that. Now, when it comes to Miss Red Hood and her burst 2, this is where this character becomes really, really useless, right? And I only say that because we still need Crown on the team, right? I only say that because unfortunately her burst 2 just is not the best. Who is the Iron DPS? We could put you, right? So we would have you as the burst 1, you as the burst 2, and then you as the burst 3. You're the alternative burst 2, and then we need another burst 3 DPS, because it could never be I guess it would have to be Laplace, right? But if we take a look at this team right here, you're going to notice her as a burst 2, like in shooting range, you're not going to see it much. But the reason why her burst 2 is technically bad is because we're in a state in Nikke where enemies nuke you, right? So if her burst 2 is essentially supposed to be like a sustaining thing. So you're going to see with every attack she does, she heals a lot. Like, she's healing almost 1 million for every shot she does. Yes, but my whole point is, if enemies one-shot you, none of that matters. Not a single one of that matters. If enemies one-shot you, not a single one of that matters. And it's really hard for her because she's taunting, right? So when you're in a situation in Nikke, or a meta in Nikke, where all enemies are like hitting very, very hard, and some of them are actually one-shotting, and then you're taunting all enemies without any type of sustain besides your increased healing, it's not doing much, because healing is not protecting you. Healing is keeping you alive in the sense of it's re-giving you HP that you've lost. But healing isn't like damage reduction. Healing isn't like a shield that Crown gives. Healing isn't nothing like that. It's not sustained in the sense of protection. It's sustained in the sense of survivability, if that makes sense. If you don't understand what I'm saying, then maybe I'm just explaining it bad, but it's kind of straightforward what I'm saying, right? I'm sure you guys understand that. But I'm glad I was able to show her as a burst 1, a burst 2, and a burst 3 character. Is Red Hood still good? Like I said, yes, she is still actually used till this day, for anybody wondering, right? She is still a main go-to for Ultra, and I will do that in a second, even though I'm not the best in Ultra. But yeah, she's definitely still a go-to character for that. So hey, I'm really happy about that at the very least. She's had the longest run in the game after Litter, right? Well, technically Helm has, but Helm just got a treasure. So Helm, no, I would never say Helm had the longest run because she was trash before her favorite item. I don't know who had the longest run in Nikke. Red Hood, I guess. Litter, because Litter just got replaced 2.5 years like later, right? She just got replaced. And she's still very good. It's just there's somebody better than her. But Red Hood is like, I don't know. Let me know. How long would you guys say, who had the longest run in Nikke ever? for just general DPS and stuff like that. But you guys see, like, as a burst 2, she's not really doing much. She's healing, her damage is quite garbage, and all that stuff, but it is what it is. I'm actually just gonna cut this short. I'm not gonna give you guys a full 3-minute video or showcase of her like as a horrible burst 2. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go put it in ultra, and we're going to do that before we wrap up the video. So let's go. So this right here is my actual ultra team. You guys are going to notice how this character works for ultra. She is kind of like very important for ultra because having Pierce is that. That's, I think, one of like the biggest things for Red Hood that will always make her relevant is the simple fact that not only does she have insane burst generation, but she has Pierce, which a lot of the characters in this game do not have. And especially for Iron, there's not many characters in this game that are Iron and have Pierce. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like she's always going to just be like a go-to character for the simple that her Pierce is very, very helpful, right? We cannot deny that, but we need to go ahead and cover right here. I covered way too early. I could have got some more damage off there. It's okay. I could have gotten more damage off there. It's okay though. But yeah, it's really like Ultra is not a hard boss, but like I don't know, for me, like I don't have Summer Helm on this team just because like I feel like one of the biggest things for me and all these bosses is like not necessarily, it's just timing, right? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it's timing. So for someone like me to kind of compensate for my lack of timing with covering and like covering with a certain character and switching to a certain character and covering with them, to kind of make up with that, I just replace it with a healer. And obviously, if you guys don't know, Helm is like, you know, honestly, if you were to use her burst skill, she is the best healer in the game. Like it's just so consistent. It really is something. But if you're not using her as a, like, you know, as a healer, then it's a different story, I feel like. She's always healing, but her like regular heals aren't that crazy, right? Her regular like skill heals for her full charge aren't crazy. She's only healing 20k. It's nothing too crazy. But if I was to use her burst skill, like our heals is just, you can't die with those types of heals. So I mean, like, unless you get one-shotted, you know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and cover right there, and stuff like that. So I think this right here is one of those, like we're going into the interruption part. This is really not hard whatsoever. It's really just 2 shots, and boom, and then boom, right? And then can we get her? Okay, there we go. I'll probably get the stage 6. I don't know if I will get stage 7. I don't have my Red Hood built for this to get us to stage 7. Like she really does need elemental damage, stuff like that. Remember when I built Red Hood, I wasn't like getting elemental damage for these characters, right? I did not really see, I was one of those guys who learned like the value of elemental damage later on, because back when Red Hood came out, like elemental damage to me personally, it didn't matter much back then, in the sense of like you could beat the entire game like with any typing. Like elements back in the days did not matter as much as they did now, and that's just a fact. Modernia was defeating any and everything that came on the game. Scarlet was defeating any and everything that came on the game. Elements did not matter whatsoever back in the days, and that's the same thing for when Red Hood came out. So if you're wondering, yeah, that is why oh my god, that is why we're not gonna get to stage 7. If I had elemental damage probably, but if I like my Red Hood was more built for this, yeah, we would. But you guys kind of see her as a like her performance there, right? Let's take a look at her overall numbers here. 1.1 billion, and obviously Raven hit harder than her, but Raven goes crazy with enemies and parts. And not only that, my Raven's kind of built for ultra. My Red Hood isn't. But yeah, Red Hood, as you guys see, she still does perform. Like Red Hood is still going to perform at the end of the day. She's still going to do the damage she needs to do. She's still going to hit hard and stuff like that. But realistically, it's really up to you guys to decide like if you want to use her or not. So when it comes to Red Hood, let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited for her rerun? If you are you guys summoning for her rerun? I do think out of all the characters that are rerunning between her, Modernia, and Dorothy, this character is by far the most valuable character and 110% going to be worth it. Unless they drop like another iron DPS. I feel like one more iron DPS that's like way better than Red Hood is just gonna replace Red Hood for that like thing. But even if it's not for iron DPS, this character is still kind of like a main loophole character, flex character that you could swiggle into some teams for like guaranteed success, right? Ever since they added the auto tower, I've been using this one comp that's really just been cheesing everything, and it's Red Hood as a burst 1. Because Red Hood's burst 1, like I said, she gives the craziest attack buff for a burst 1. 77% of the caster's attack for an attacker is insane. That's the highest that they've given that to for someone who's giving a buff to all allies. Usually when people have that high of a buff to give it to themselves, this is something that goes to all allies. So I do think Red Hood 110% is still a very broken character. 110% is still in the top 10. Is she gonna stay there? I don't know, but right now as I'm recording, she is still a top 10 character, no questions asked. You guys let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think her fall off is gonna happen soon? Do you guys think she's not gonna be top 10? What do you guys think? Subscribe and like I said, let's try to get 26,000. Let's try to get 26,000 today, right? We might as well. Let's try to get freaking 94 subscribers in this video. I mean, if you want to, of course, but I love all you guys. I'm gonna see you guys next one. I'm out. Peace.